Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello, there we go.
All right, we got it.
Sweet.
That's
Awesome.
really strange. Okay, Allie, try to add Will.
Switch the settings, but
Okay, hold on.
What happened? Oh, apparently you're getting some new people to your channel, Allie.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So you're seriously gonna make a bot named after Allie then, are you?
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's easy to add people, and I want to add people that kind of played and supported the game early on. So
Sweet. Take
Cool.
that, other boyfriends.
Thank you.
hi.
Hello.
So
Okay.
are you guys also streaming, or are we just doing a little Skype chat here?
Right now it's a Skype chat. I want to stream, but my internet's not wanting to cooperate. Allie, I think you're recording, right?
I am.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay,
do kind
so-
of a montage kind of a thing.
Yeah, we can probably get some interview info in here as well. If you want to do that, and Allie wants to edit and upload that to her channel.
Sure.
Okay.
And are you
so
also playing in game, or should I step out of the round?
we're all in this match here.
Okay.
So
All right,
I'm
so I'll
playing.
keep playing because I can hear you and respond.
Sounds like a plan. All right. So first question: what compelled you to make a robot roller derby disco dodgeball game?
So I think the dodgeball. So I love projectile combat. So as a kid, like I'd play a lot of GoldenEye 64 with friends,
Oh, I love that.
and our favorite mode was kind of throwing knives with one-hit kills. So you just kind of race around, and you just like there's not it wasn't past your face, and you know that if any of them nick you, you're dead, and it's just very, very tense, very hilarious. And I love in general games where like anytime there's a crossbow or grenade launcher, it's like way more fun to me than just like a gun where you're just like clicking on stuff. The fact
Right.
that you have to like, aim and like lead people is just it feels more satisfying when you hit someone.
Yeah, it does. A lot like Tribes and the other Tribes.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, Dodgeball seemed like a perfect game that was like limited scope, all projectile, and I could kind of just. It hadn't really been done. I was like, well, we really need a first-person dodgeball game, and I was very surprised it didn't exist. I know you mentioned you kind of had a similar thought a long time ago.
Yeah, I did.
So I was like, well, yeah, this seems good. I actually came from the iOS world. This is my
Yeah, I
first
saw
kind
that
of PC
actually.
game.
You made a really interesting strategy game. My apologies for interrupting.
No, not at all. So this was like kind of, okay, I'm new at Unity, so I want to tackle something that's not like too intense. And, the robots came because I didn't want to animate a human character. Because that's just
Understandable.
complicated and expensive.
Totally adds to the aesthetic, I feel.
Yeah. And the roller part came because I was just messing around with different control schemes and building just random arenas. And I had a couple of ramps in there, and I was like, man, I really wanted to like fly off this ramp. So I started adding kind of this wheel system, and then with forward momentum, it's actually easier to kind of aim your shot. Whereas if you're just walking around, you can kind of strafe too easily.
That's
So
true.
that combination was like, okay, like roller dodgeball kind of seems like a mechanic that could work and allow you to do all these crazy midair catches and midair shots, and it just kind of all started evolving from those just really kind of core ideas.
And it's getting better all the time, too.
Yeah, so it's really fun because the core is simple, but like adding a new game mode is also very, very easy, and you get a lot of interesting gameplay out of just a very small rule change, and that's usually a good thing. Like, if your game has to be really, really complicated to be interesting, then I mean it's just like a lot harder to do that, and it's a lot harder to bring new people in. And in this way, it's like, okay, I add a hoop to the level, and now everything changes, and your strategy changes, and your teamwork changes, and it's really, really fun as a designer to see those things just kind of naturally start forming. And it's kind of like, it's just really exciting because a lot of the games I built before, like, you really had to work to find the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And this is just everything about it is so just naturally, easily fun.
Yeah,
it makes
when
it really
Allie and I
fun to
picked
work
the
with.
game
Very
up.
much is.
When
Yeah,
Allie and I picked the game up, we spent probably 2 hours instantly just raving about how much fun it was. It totally
Yeah.
surprised us just
Yep.
how truly fun it really is.
yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like, it's just like it's so simple, but like the simple stuff is what matters. Like, movement is fun, and throwing is fun, and dodging is fun, and beyond that, like, I mean, that's what like matters. And obviously, the graphics are really, really basic, and there's a lot to go in terms of all that stuff. But just like the core is really, really solid, and that's
Right.
a really great place to start from.
Pretty much got a full game going already.
Yeah, right. Like it works now, and what also appealed to me is like these days streaming and YouTube is kind of like the way that games get discovered and talked about. And so a game like this is very, very streamable. Whereas like a puzzle game is a lot, someone does a let's play and then you're like, well, now I don't need to ever play the game again.
Very
and
true.
this is more like it makes you actually want to play it. So it also was a good fit for kind of what's working these days and, in terms of getting the word around.
Very true. Who did you get to do the trailer's voice acting and the voice acting for the internal narrator? The commentator?
So that's a guy named Bob Oakman. And I found him because I think I was just talking with some friends. I actually work next to a bunch of other game developers. We kind of have a collective going in Boston, like Dejaban and Alchemy. I don't know if you ever...
I have not, actually.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they're like indie game developers. So we were all just joking, like, hey, how can I make this game, like, how can I make a good trailer? And we were kind of thinking that a monster truck announcer would just be hilariously over the top. And so I started looking on YouTube, and I found this guy, and he was like, oh man, this voice, as soon as he started speaking, you're like, oh, this is so good. Like a good voice person is, like, incredible. But like, there's a link on the trailer, it didn't actually lead anywhere. But actually, one of the developers did some digging just on his own and found the guy's real website. And I was like, well, all right, well, I guess I'll send him an email. And yeah, he was like, yeah, send me the script. Like, the price was right. And I was like, yeah, like, this is exactly the kind of thing that, like, makes it stand out. It's like, it's a kind of interesting hook you can use.
The trailer is what got me into the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's different. And it's hard to make a trailer, and I see a lot of, like, if you look on Greenlight and you look at people's trailers, and like 95% of them they're just terrible. Like, they don't get you excited. They just kind of show you playing a little bit of the game, but they don't tell you, like, you really have to sell, like, the spirit of the game, not just like what you actually do in the game.
More developers need to know that for sure.
Yeah, and it's like if it doesn't get you in like 5 seconds, then you're gone. Then there's no point. And so I think with this announcer and with just the just craziness of the trailer, it really grabs people pretty quickly.
It does. It reminds me very much of original Unreal and Quake and such, which is very nostalgic for people like myself.
Yeah, I played a lot of Unreal Tournament in college, like freshman year. That was a very like strong memory and a great way to like bonding with people on the hall. And yeah, so those kill streaks was it's a big element to it. And like also in Team Fortress, there's certain weapons that count your like certain kills with a certain weapon, and then they show it to whoever else is playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you feel like, well, I need to like use this. I need to use this more. I need to get that number up. And so there's this idea of kind of like I guess it's showing off. I don't know if that's really the word for it, but
showboating even?
Showboating, yeah. And so I was like, so all these like special kills when you're in midair and the enemy is doing something crazy, like it's really, I make sure to broadcast it across the whole arena so that people can see this like crazy thing you did. And now the game actually tracks those stats, and eventually I'm going to link that to like customizations and leveling and all that, so that there's a reward for doing these kind of just crazy kill streaks. And I think that also adds to the this idea that showboating is kind of like built in, and that it's fun, and that it's really fun to show off like some crazy thing that you did. So
yeah, it is. Ali, you got any questions?
Man, that appeals to me.
Not
Will.
currently at the moment. Oh,
Hey,
okay.
I'm Will. I'm still here.
Hi, Will.
A wild Will appears.
Didn't
Hi.
even know you were here to begin with.
Well, you added me into this call.
Yes. So, what's your question, Will?
I don't have any questions.
Oh. Would you like to just fawn your praise upon the developer?
Yeah, I like the ego trip stuff. That's fun for me.
Oh yeah,
I
exactly.
need attention a lot.
Yep. Yeah, and I think there's also something too. There's some like psychological thing happening when something really rare and lucky happens in a game. It's way more meaningful. Like,
Oh, that's
it's
my
very powerful.
entire experience with this game.
Yeah.
I am terrible. I just randomly launch shots into the air, and then when something happens, I'm so happy.
Yeah, you
Winning the
feel
lotto.
amazing, right? So
I win the
think-
lotto once a match. It's great.
Yep. And even like if it's rare, it's powerful enough to kind of keep you playing again and again. Like there's some really like weird psychology happening there, but
It's clever.
Yeah.
It's very fun too.
Seriously.
Yeah,
So where did the disco come in?
So I just like I like electronic music. I thought it would be a fun I don't know, just vibe for the game. Like it kind of meshed. It came like, so I had like the roller derby already happening. I'm like, okay, there's also like disco dirt, like roller derby.
Disco,
like I don't know,
yeah.
it's just all kind of like wrapped in together in this like just insane sensory overload experience. And I thought, okay, I can kind of push this just neon arenas without having to go, photorealistic, because that's just not something I can, that's not in my skill set, that's not in my budget. So I was like, I can just create this kind of unique aesthetic and run with it.
It works.
And it all just kind of like meshes together. Like it's a really long, ridiculous title, but it somehow all kinds of just fits together neatly, which was fun to see come together.
It really is, and it's really comforting for people like myself who have Asperger's, and sensory overload related colors and such like this is actually a very comforting thing.
Oh yeah?
So that really helps
that.
me.
Okay. So one problem though with the game is I need to turn off the lights because some people that have kind of epilepsy triggers, it can be very, very, very hard for them to play. So I started adding some graphics like sliders in the most recent update, and I'll have one mode that turns off like the constant flashing and the constant like bright light explosions, because that definitely makes the game hard to play for some people.
Yeah, I'm sure. I had another question. Oh yes, Oculus Rift. How do you plan to implement that?
So it's basically already running, although I had to borrow a kit, so I may have broken the build recently, but
Oops.
Oh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Oculus Rift is really, really easy to add. It's really just kind of a camera setting, and when you install it, it kind of just has a drag and drop feature. So I had it up and running like pretty quickly.
Really? It's that simple, huh?
Yeah, which is amazing, and I think it's a good move for them because they want as many games as possible, or else nobody's going to buy a Rift.
That's true.
So there are some changes I need to make in terms of, motion sickness, and it's tough because your head is looking around, but then you're used to your mouse also controlling your vision, and so the two can kind of compete in a way that makes it really, really hard to play. So there's definitely some like fine tuning ready to go, but it works, and it's like it is crazy, like when a ball like flies right at your face.
Whew, I already try to duck in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's already like that in 2D, let alone actual virtual reality. So it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait like until it's more widely available, because I think again like you kind of need a hook for your game, and even if not a lot of people have the Oculus Rift, it's a good kind of like asterisk you can put on. People like get excited about that idea.
That's true, and it helps plug the Oculus Rift itself.
Yeah. So hopefully, like, if I partner with them early enough, they could kind of help promote this game, and I can help promote them. And as a developer, you kind of want to find these mutually beneficial relationships with platform owners, and it could work out really well. So even if I'm not going to have a lot of Oculus Rift sales, there's a lot of kind of side benefits to it.
Very true.
Besides it also just being a lot of fun, like it is an amazing platform for the game. So it's just cool as a developer to see it running,
Yeah. Also, you mentioned something in your to-do list about console support.
Yeah.
You plan to make it cross-compatible?
Yeah, so the amazing thing about Unity is it takes care of a lot of that for you. Getting it working on Mac and Linux was literally like a button. You're just like, build for Mac, okay. And so potentially like Ouya could work pretty well. And then, potentially PlayStation, Xbox, Steambox. I just need to kind of work on controller support. And then after that, I mean, it should be like pretty easy. The big pain is going to be, like with Sony, would be dealing with kind of the paperwork contracts. Like it's better than it used to be, but it's still kind of a pain to get dev kits and deal with all the lawyers and all that stuff. But technically getting it running should be pretty easy.
You don't need another Super Meat Boy issue.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and like you just hear nightmares about console owners like just jerking developers around and just changing terms, and it's not even like being evil, it's just like not understanding that it's really, really hard, like that we're small companies and we don't have time to deal with like all this nonsense.
Whereas
so that's the only thing I'm worried about.
Lawyers. I apologize for the interruption.
Nope, not at all. So, there's that concern. I haven't gone through it before, but I think it is getting easier these days, and Unity definitely will help. So I'll look into it, and if at all possible, I just, I love the idea of local multiplayer. I love people sitting down and playing with their friends. That was my experience in high school, and I think this game would be amazing for that too, so I'll do whatever I can to make that happen.
That's already happening within the community, as you can surely see.
Yeah.
People are hanging out with their friends already in here.
I think that's something I didn't really appreciate enough going in, is that people can jump on, a Skype chat or whatever and play with their friends. And even if you're not on the same couch, you do feel like you're kind of hanging out with your friends.
It helps.
And that's like a new, that's new to me, and it's really exciting to see. It's really fun to see friends like come in and like the same people every night, kind of hanging out and talking. And now I'm starting to develop kind of these custom team uniforms for these groups of friends, and it's really fun to see that.
It's fun to see it happening too around me as just a player.
Yeah,
I've seen players with all kinds of interesting little additives to their character. For example, the man in charge of the tournament has a tail on his character.
Yeah, exactly. And if you guys like, all I need is like a 256 by 256 icon, and I can either add that to like the back of your jersey, or even the faceplate can be customized too. So I'll have one like minus a mustache, obviously. Now they're all mustaches. Yeah, like that kind of stuff is really fun, and I think that also gets people into the game more when they have like a unique item for them.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Yeah. The other thing I'm learning kind of as a developer is you really want super fans. Like one super fan is worth 100, just like, normal once in a while players, because they're the ones that are gonna go out, tell their friends, do all this kind of helpful community building for you. And so this kind of stuff, like, I try to play every night. I try to reward the people that are helping out with the game, because that in the long run is going to help the game a lot in the future as well. So I'm trying to accumulate a whole bunch of super fans right now.
You've already got a few.
Cool.
Made a call with at least 2 of them.
Awesome.
Very much so.
But Will is on the fence.
He was the one that showed it to me.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I don't know how he is.
Yep.
Will, are you a super fan or a regular fan?
I don't know. I'll feel better about it once I can have my I don't like hugs jacket. Then I'll be a super fan.
Sure. Yeah, just send that to me and I'll add that to your bot. Are you Will the foe in the game?
Absolutely.
All right. I just threw a ball at you, but
Rude.
yeah, let me know and I can hook you up with a new jersey. Oh, I just killed you.
I saw that.
Yeah, that happened right in front of my face. Oh.
So, what's your background in game developing? You've mentioned that you've worked on the iOS and you had a puzzle game and that very interesting hex-based strategy game.
Yep. So, about 3 years ago, I started, there was just like a really stupid app I wanted to make for the iPhone. I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. In my spare time, I eventually wanted to build a game, and I realized I couldn't build the game I wanted to build and still have a day job. So I kind of just saved up and kind of took the plunge. My wife also helped with insurance and stuff like that, as she just reminded me. So I took the plunge and was like, okay, let me give it a year, see if I can get some income in, and it worked out enough that I could keep giving it a shot, right? So like the app was generating enough to pay the bills, so then I could like build another game, and but iOS really started becoming, I mean, it was tough for a long time, but it just became like nonsense. Like if you look at the stuff that's selling now and stuff that's making money, it's
just unreasonable really, what's making money.
Yeah, and as a developer, it's really hard because there's no link between like quality and financial success. And if you're unknown, then you have to do so much more work. It's such an uphill battle. And so creating like new IP was just not worth it. And meanwhile, like so much amazing stuff is happening on PC. Like you have the Rift, you have the Steambox, you have YouTube, you have Twitch. all these things are just huge things for small developers to get noticed. Where in iOS, like you're just a drop in the ocean. So I was like, let me just try Unity. Let me try cross-platform. Let me try PC. And so far, it's been like night and day. Like already, this game is like way further along than it would have been otherwise, and it's picking up a lot more attention than I could have any time on iOS. So,
well, the Reddit giveaway helped.
It really did. That was like the biggest jump in users and greenlight votes for sure. And I'll definitely be doing like more giveaways. I'm gonna try to link it to like one of the bigger YouTube channels. I really want to get a million plus YouTube person on the game. I think that would really make a meaningful jump in the community. So I might like do a giveaway to like fans or something for that. And so there's this kind of hypothesis with games that your audience is effectively infinite. Like you can give away 1,000 keys and you're not really losing 1,000 sales because there's 1,000 more people that'll find out about the game. So I don't really see that as like costing anything or costing future sales. It's just like a necessary step to get people aware of the game and playing it. So
it's a really good way to look at it.
Sorry?
That's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I really wish big publishers would realize that.
Yeah. I don't understand what they're doing with like YouTube copyright claims. Like
that's actually just YouTube, I think. I've been looking into that myself. It's not really the developers that have been doing the content strikes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
it depends on a case-to-case basis, but...
Well, with Sega and Nintendo and such, yeah, it's them, but Blizzard and so on, not so much.
And to
yeah, it's largely YouTube covering their own end.
Right. I kind of understand if it is a puzzle game because that, or something like, I don't know, Beyond Two Souls or something, where the game's maybe not that great and you can really only play it once.
Or Antichamber or something where it's all about the experience.
Yeah. I can see how like a full playthrough, something like that, might make people not be like, okay, I don't need to buy the game now. But my answer to that, this is not the answer for everybody. I just won't build that kind of game. Like I want to build the kind of game that you can play forever, and that the one video is not going to spoil the whole experience for you. But either way, it does seem like really ridiculous that they're taking this down because YouTube is such a great way to get people aware of your game and excited about it, and it's just a huge waste of everyone's time.
Everybody wins when they upload YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Free advertisement for the developer, and in some cases, even money for the people making the game come out. And stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. I was actually kind of behind the curve on this until a friend told me that there's people that make a living making videos of themselves playing games. I'm like, what? That's crazy. But like, yeah, there's YouTube celebrities, and they have like millions of followers, and like one video will make or break a game. It's crazy. And I'm like, oh, this is a whole new channel that people can use, and it's great.
It's very true. That's what made Minecraft a success.
Absolutely. Just everyone making, small people like making a bunch of videos, but it just spreads it around and keeps it growing. And sometimes you'll have that one video that everyone just goes nuts for, and then that immediately will take off, and But in the general principle of it is pretty amazing. So.
What a world we live in now, huh?
No, it's crazy, but it's fun. There's a lot. It's hard being a developer, like because there's so many games being made, and more and more free games are kind of taking things over, and a lot of studios are having financial troubles and shutting down. But there's also a lot of really cool, exciting things you can do, and my plan is just kind of keep costs low, build the community early, and just build the kind of game that works on these new kind of channels. And
you're seeming to do that very well.
It's working out. I'm really excited for the potential of this game, and I think it could be big. I know I'm like obviously biased, and I know I tend to be more optimistic than maybe I should be. But I'm really like there's something about this game that I think is just like it's just perfect, and I can't wait to get it out to more people and make the game even better. So
I know this is definitely one of my favorite games.
Awesome.
I'm very picky when it comes to indie games, as both Ali and Will know, and this is by far my favorite one I've been able to come up with in the past couple of years.
Yeah, thank you. as a developer, like I feel like I should play and enjoy more games, but there's a lot of games that I get bored of really, really quickly. And particularly a lot of indie games, I'm like, okay, this is interesting, that's cool, it's different, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it doesn't actually, it's not fun, it's not the kind of game I want to play over and over again. And so I respect the people that are trying to like advance the medium of gaming and like do things and make you feel things that like you haven't felt before. Like that is very cool, but it's not the kind of game that I want to build. Like I just want to build really, really fun experiences, like fun core experiences. And I'm having more fun playing this game than I have a lot of larger titles in a long time. So
it's just enjoyable from the instant you turn it on.
Yeah.
It's really very well put together, even though it is simply in beta and there are glitches and there are graphical, things that are to come, but it's just fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thank you. I hope I can kind of build it up to its full potential. That's kind of my mission right now.
I wouldn't even complain if you left the graphics as they are now.
I think some people will miss these crazy mustache bots.
I know I will.
Can upgrade to a better model, so I might have a legacy mode where you can just view the these robots.
You also mentioned. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying?
No, just there's something about them that make you smile because they're just ridiculous.
They're like running around exclamation points.
Yeah.
You mentioned the to-do list as well. Map or level creators or level creation system.
Yep.
Is that something you think will be easily implemented? And if so, when do you think you'll be able to implement it?
So it's definitely going to have to wait until, well, if and when it gets on Steam, because they have a workshop where you can kind of share items and rate them, and I don't need to worry about creating a server to store everything. It's probably going to be harder than I expect, but I want the editor to be like pretty basic. So there's just going to be a couple prefab ramps, some columns, some like platforms and walkways, and then just let people kind of place them around. So it's not going to be very like super powerful, but I want to just kind of give people a nice like tool set, a nice sandbox, and then I think from those simple elements, you can create interesting arenas. I mean, all the arenas so far, there's like 5 different items in them, and they're just arranged differently. So
it's so simplistic, yet the levels are so functional.
Yeah. So that's kind of my goal, and it'll probably be tricky technically to implement, but I don't think it'll be too insane. It's not like rebuilding some entire world generator, and then I can just store like, okay, how many objects are in what position, and then that'll be the kind of save file. So I think it's also really, really important to me because I think that's the thing that'll take it. Once people are making their own maps and sharing them around, that's going to make the game like get really big. That's
true.
Right?
When we're able to express ourselves within the game, the community really does flourish.
So it's really important to me to get that working. So whatever difficulties are involved, I think it'll be totally worth it. So that's kind of how I stand on that.
What other features do you plan to implement in the near future?
So I think the next thing is going to be a new game mode based on roller derby. Have you guys ever seen a actual roller derby match?
I have, actually. My mother used to do roller derby.
Awesome. Yeah, they're like crazy fun. They're so much fun to watch. And so it's basically going to be kind of a checkpoint race. So each arena will have a couple different kind of zones, and it'll create kind of a race course. So I don't know if you remember like the temple level, like you can kind of imagine a couple different checkpoints spread around. And so each player is kind of doing their own race, and the other team is racing at the same time. And you get points for completing checkpoints, but you can of course hit each other with dodgeballs to slow down your enemy's progress. So it becomes like a roller derby match where you can actually just throw dodgeballs at each other
instead of using elbows.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, like in actual roller derby, you have like the blockers and the jammers, right?
It's actually very complex.
Yeah, and there's different roles and different kind of traits, and I'm not sure if I want to do that. So it might be a little more freeform. But who knows? I'll just start building it and see what works and what doesn't, and kind of play it by ear.
That seems to be your strong suit right now, so might as well.
Yeah, it's and what's cool is because there's people playing it, I can get really good feedback very quickly. Like I can
instantaneously, it seems.
Yeah. Today, like everyone helped like spread the word around and install the new version, which is nice because it doesn't fragment the community with the kind of version updates and whatnot. But yeah,
I was worried about that myself.
Yeah, right. Because otherwise, if you're stuck on an old version, you're like, oh, nobody's playing, so I'll just give up. And but yeah, so far it's been pretty good. There's also a button in the game that tells you when there's an update, and that's helpful too.
I haven't noticed that. I've actually been checking the Humble page myself.
Okay. Yeah, there's a button in the top right, and it'll say like update when there's a new version out. So.
Neat.
And so besides that, I'm gonna do. So I love kind of RPGs. I love leveling systems. Again, it's just there's this really weird, powerful psychology there when you know that you're increasing numbers somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's why adding stats was important, because I want people to know that every amazing kill they get is remembered somewhere.
I like that addition myself.
Yeah. So basically, kills and special kills will give you experience points, and I think at the start it's just gonna allow you to kind of level up, and it'll just be a number that shows up next to your name. But I think again that kind of taps into the showing off aspect, where you're like, wow, like they're level 30, like they've been playing a while, so you kind of get this like interesting kind of respect happening.
The status.
Yeah, all that stuff. So I think that'll be really cool. And the flip side is like, once you start building the stuff in, does it then like detract from the gameplay? Because then you're changing the rewards. You're no longer just rewarding for the fun of it. You're saying, well, you're only really playing to increase these numbers.
Yeah, we don't want another treadmill game.
Yeah, so I'm a little worried that it might, with reward systems, you can actually screw things up and make things worse. So I'm going to try it and just see how it works. I think it'll be fine because you're not getting like intense, serious rewards for it. Like it's just a number that's tracking. In the future, I'll link that to kind of outfits. So you could have a special cape or special particle effects or special hats or whatever.
Just cosmetics, right?
Cosmetic stuff based on your level. I think I mentioned this in in-game chat. I do love the idea of random loot drops, like Team Fortress.
Saw that.
And so, I don't know, so you got the leveling system that contributes to cosmetic stuff. Then you have the loot drop that allows you to also maybe do side grades and unlock other stuff. So I don't really know how this whole like upgrade unlock tree is going to work, and whether it'll just be too much complicated stuff. There's something just really, really powerful about like randomly collecting some useful item that you really want. That just keeps people playing over and over and over again. And the plus side is the more people playing, then the more new people that join in will be able to find opponents. So like I do have to do something to make sure that I keep people playing. But hopefully the game is fun enough that they do that on their own, right?
I think it is.
That's the balance I gotta kind of worry about. Is adding these things without complicating the game and ruining what kind of like pure simple fun is there. So
you just gotta take your time.
Yeah, exactly. Just try things out and see what people think about it. So far they've been really honest about what works and what doesn't, and I try to listen to that and adjust accordingly.
What's the worst reaction you've gotten so far to a change put into the game?
Let me think. I guess like some people said they don't like the new levels. Like some people really want tiny levels, some people want really big levels. So I'm trying to create a range, but every once in a while someone's like, I hate this level.
Always somebody.
I think though I definitely get feedback on the bugs a lot, right? Like you guys are kind of having a heck of a time getting certain things working.
It's not too much of a problem, but just gotta let you know.
Yeah. So stuff like that, when I break something, I definitely hear that really quickly. But so far things have been like pretty positive, and I think what happens also is people just gravitate to the thing they like the most. So I'm seeing a lot of people playing Elimination, which I didn't think would be that popular, but it turns out, like I was playing against bots, and that's really not fun against bots, but it's really fun against humans. Like it's way more intense and the rounds go quickly enough that it doesn't feel like I'm just sitting around. So that was something that definitely took me by surprise.
Yeah, you can really watch the interesting things other players can do when you're in spectator mode.
Yeah, and when you get these interesting like 4-on-1 matchups, like the dynamics change really quickly, and you get some really cool things happening. So that was probably something that I was like, didn't expect, but happy to see happen. So,
what's your proudest experience with this game so far? What has somebody said, or what have you seen that's made you the most happy that you decided to make this game?
I don't know. There's a couple quotes on Twitter where someone's like, "This is the most fun game I've played all year. Like, this is more fun than GTA 5." Like that kind of like.
That's impressive.
I mean, it is like hyperbolic, but they also seem to like mean it too, right? Like there's something about like in modern games that don't really. They're trying to be like so many different things, and they focus so much on graphics that they don't actually think about how the game actually plays. And so I do think I kind of found a way to kind of short circuit the regular game development model and just focus on what really matters. And I think that is kind of being seen, and it's just a matter of getting out to more people, and hopefully that reaction is not just this limited group of people, but it is the majority of people.
We'll find out, won't we?
Yeah, we'll find out. It's hard because like you got to temper your optimism. You got to stay encouraged about the project, but if you get too optimistic, then if things don't work out or if there's like a slow week, you start getting really, really bummed out. Ooh, so it's kind of this like emotional roller coaster all the time.
Anybody else here got any questions?
How's the green light going?
Very good. So they give you kind of fuzzy numbers, but what I can tell so far is there's about 5,000 yes votes, and the top 50 have about, on average, like 9,000 votes. But they also show me like the chart of like votes over time, and then they compare it to kind of selected anonymous other games that are like top 5, the number 5, the number 10, the number 20. And so my game and my chart is like right mixed in with what's currently in the top 100. So I don't really know what that means. I think I have a really good shot at getting in the next batch, particularly if I do another big key giveaway. If I get a couple, 2,000-3,000 more votes, I think that would like really, really lock it in. But it's hard to say because they don't, they want to be a little mysterious about the whole process, so they don't really give you a good idea of where you're at. So that's, as far as I can tell, it's going well, and hopefully soon, within the next batch or two, it'll be included.
That'd be nice. Any more questions?
Very good to hear.
Go on, sorry.
If I have a question, I'll think of one.
So how many people have actually purchased the game at this point?
Let me think. Maybe like 500 or so.
500 at $5 each.
Yeah. Which is pretty good. I mean, it's basically making about as much money as my kind of older iOS titles. But of course, the non-Steam barrier is really, really huge.
Right.
People just really won't buy something that's on Steam. So people are very, very happy to get keys, right, and play the game. But getting them to actually put down $5 is tough. But even so, like it actually, to me, those sales are pretty good for a game that is brand new and is not on Steam, and people have to kind of do the humble widget thing and hasn't been mentioned in any major press. And I'm just kind of hoping to build up as many people as possible. So when it is out on Steam, I'll probably do early access and try to get a big bunch of new users and sales at that point.
That'd be nice. I can't wait for the Steam matchmaking systems and so on.
Yeah, and like the automatic updates and the workshop and achievements and like all this really amazing stuff that comes with the platform, on top of sales. There's a lot of stuff as a developer that's easy to get excited about. And so I just kind of, Greenlight right now is like the most important thing for the game. So I try to spend a good amount of time doing outreach stuff and stuff that'll help that campaign go along.
Such as the 3,000 key giveaway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd love to get like a nerd cubed on the game. I think he would love it.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, so I gotta find a way to get in contact with him. There's a couple of routes, right? Like I have a couple avenues going, but
Have you talked to Total Biscuit's PR guy yet?
I haven't. I don't know if it would be a good fit for him because it's not yet complete, but he might also appreciate that it's like not loaded with a bunch of junk.
That's true. It sounds like him. He has that Alpha Strike series, but as the game's in beta, I'm not sure it would fit.
Yeah, exactly. So I might wait on him for a bit, but there's also a bunch of other like kind of medium-sized YouTube people I'm kind of researching and looking to reach out to. So that's kind of where I'm at this point.
I can't wait to see
I
videos.
personally heard of the game from the Northern Lion sort of Rockley Smile crew.
Yeah, he did a video, didn't he? Northern Lion did.
Yeah, so that was huge. That was like the second biggest impact on Greenlight. And I think what also helped was a lot of streamers watch him. And so after that video, a bunch of new people started streaming the game. And right now that is very, very important for spreading the word. So that video was amazing. What was even better is he reached out to me. I think he saw some tweet about it from someone he follows that was much smaller. And then so I was about to okay, and when maybe in a couple of weeks I'll email Northern Lion and see if I can get a shot with him, but he actually reached out to me. And that was
How'd you feel when that happened?
Yeah, I was really jumping up and down because it's just incredible to have someone, of that kind of well-knownness be interested in the game. And there was a point where they were doing the Northern Lion Super Show, and I was able to jump in the game with them, and there were 4,000 people watching the stream live. And
wow,
so
I was one of those.
It was just surreal to be chatting with this guy in front of 4,000 people, and the chat's it's going by so fast you can't even read anything. It's insane. And so
that had to have been a completely new experience for you.
That was incredible. And that's kind of the moment where I'm so glad I was done with iOS, because this kind of thing just doesn't happen.
Oh, you're right.
And you just can't connect with people before you launch the game in the same way that you can on PC, which right now is again, it's the only way you can really succeed at this point.
Are you ever worried that you'll make a mistake of some sort that the general community won't like?
I think I am worried when I push out a build if I broke something, and then the thing is you can get a new build up pretty quickly, within an hour or two, and that's not enough to make people put down the game forever. It's not too nerve-wracking in that sense. It's more just I want to get as much out as possible. I think that's kind of where the stress is coming from. I just want everything to be done now. I want the graphics to be better. I want all these modes in. I want, at the same time, you're also trying to get as much PR as you can. So there's just this hurry up mentality. But there isn't a lot of walking on ice feeling where you're if I take one wrong step, everything will fall apart. It doesn't really feel like that, which is nice.
That must be.
Yeah.
What feature do you have planned that you're the most excited to implement outside of Oculus Rift and level development?
I think controller support, because that would just open up a whole new kind of range of markets. And I just think it would be a great game to play on the couch. So local multiplayer split screen with controllers. To me, that would be just amazing amount of fun. I love the new trend of local multiplayer, 2D games like Samurai Gun, Towerfall. These games are just amazing. I love multiplayer experiences, and they're really, really nailing it. And so to get Dodgeball into the kind of couch multiplayer arena would feel really good, because again, I just love seeing friends playing the game together, and that's just a perfect outlet for it.
I'm so happy to see that, because the last few years everyone sort of neglected couch co-op so
Especially
much.
when PS3 and Xbox first came out.
Yep.
Yeah, racing games, it's practically disappeared, and that's just so strange to me, because I grew up playing almost exclusively couch co-op games.
As did I.
And it just disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really, like kind of we said before, like it is somewhat being substituted with other experiences, but I don't know if there's anything that can really top that, right? Like when you're actually on the couch with friends and you can like see them and trash talk them in person. Like there's just something really special about that. And yeah, like I think there's a lot of people that want that want to get back to that, and to be able to tap into that would be a lot of fun.
I know my entire family really would like more of that.
Yeah, so that's another good point. Like I think the game does work in kind of a family context. What's really fortunate about the game, like it doesn't have, violence. It doesn't have guns. It doesn't have bullets and blood, and you can kind of avoid all these really like ugly issues that happen in gaming, and it could actually be a good like family title.
Alan had actually commented on that the day we had started playing, how it's very wholesome.
Yeah. So I actually originally it said like when you hit someone, it said like, oh, you killed X, and someone tweeted me like, why does this game have to have killing in it? And I was like, that's a great point. Like there's no like, yeah, they're robots, they're exploding, but so I'm trying to kind of back away from like there's still in there some ways, it still says deathmatch, it still says kill streak, but I'm probably gonna maybe back away from those and just, it's not really gonna impact the game. It's not like sanitizing it like Grey Blood or anything in Mortal Kombat. Right. It's just like it's unnecessary, and I think if it can make it more, family friendly, like why not? Because I think there's a lack of good quality family games, and if I have the opportunity to be that, then sure, I would love to do that.
I find that the cleaner the enjoyment, the more respectable it is to enjoy and see.
Right. Yeah, the game's not like, so, you look at something like Battlefield and like a lot of the enjoyment comes from this really visceral, bloody combat and whatever. I mean, I like playing these games too, right? But it's like the enjoyment comes from the, particularly fighting games too. It's coming from just this kind of gore feeling, but then that means like the fun, I think, in Dodgeball is coming from somewhere totally different, and it's a little more pure, I guess.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about that aspect too, because it makes you feel better as a designer to not have to have these kind of moral quandaries as well, where like, oh, like, do I make a game like, a lot of games kind of exploit like violence or sexuality in ways that like make you feel kind of sketchy as a game developer, and it's really nice to be able to kind of, I don't know, not avoid it, but like not have to participate in that side of things, and maybe show people like you can have games that don't necessarily have that stuff.
That is very nice to see in today's world, actually.
And yeah, another good reason I like need to remove the mustaches, because like I mentioned, like I want the game to be, gender kind of compatible. It's robots, right? So there's no need to have like big muscly soldiers running around or anything like. And then I realized like, oh well, all my robots are guys because they all have mustaches, and that's silly. So I'll be removing that, and in general more customization options in overall, but that'll be something, I'll take that out. And I don't think at the moment it's like scaring anyone off, but it's, again, if I can do anything that makes the game feel more kind of equitable, then I'm all for it.
What's your favorite feature you've added so far?
I think it's probably the special kills, because there's something really, really addictive about trying for these ridiculous shots, and when you pull them off, you feel great, and it's fun to kind of brag about them when you're playing in these games. I don't know. There's just something like it. The other thing I saw, which was really amazing, is like there's a kill in it, a special shot called the Godlike, where you catch an enemy ball midair, and then you hit another enemy with it before you hit the ground. Really, really, really hard to do, and I found some of their players were like in a room by themselves practicing the shot.
Wow.
Just so they could like make sure it exists, but also just to like, get a handle on it. And that kind of stuff is like these really high skill level shots make people like, again, like try to reach and try to do like really crazy, ridiculous things, and that's really fun to me to see that happening. And as a player, I'm always trying to do helicopters. I'm always trying to do like midair catches, and anytime you're running around, you might have an opportunity to pull off this crazy shot. And I think that adds to this kind of random excitement that like, oh, at any moment this amazing thing could happen, and that really feeds into the whole gameplay too. So that's really worked out well, I think. And it's something I really enjoy.
I think it's
really
really
helps
what
with
sells
the-
the game. Sorry, go on, Will.
It really helps with the couch co-op style play as well, because I just really want to be able to yell at Kyle all the time, going, "You just got dunked, son!"
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that stuff. So
Yeah, that's kind of what happens around us. It's
Yep.
great.
so you guys
What's
you're all buddies. You all know each other.
Yeah, we've been friends for a while.
Awesome.
We play together. It's pretty much all we do anymore.
Sweet. And you have like a Twitch channel, or you guys? I know you do YouTube stuff.
Well, now we're the ones being interviewed. I recently have stopped uploading videos onto YouTube, and I plan to get back into it, particularly with Disco Dodgeball, partly because I became disinterested in Minecraft and the way the community of that was going. Will has a small channel. Tell him about your channel.
I'm very temperamental.
There you go.
I do what I
Okay.
feel like and tell other people to go away.
I like it. I
Right, and
think
then-
people do like opinionated people online. It's way more fun to watch. So I think that's a good attribute that'll get people. Like, I mean, Total Biscuit, right? I mean,
I was just about to say that.
yeah. It can really work in your favor. So
You can. Then Ali's channel is wow. I don't even know what she does at this point.
It's just all over the place, honestly. I have yet to organize it.
yep, that's cool. Yeah, I think just by putting stuff out there, you can kind of find what resonates and what stuff you like making the most, and then you can kind of find your identity that way, just by doing stuff.
And I think Disco Dodgeball is going to be your identity. It's a pretty good one to be attached to. Plus, like I was saying on Twitter, I am not a fan of most indie games, and I was comparing you to definitely early Minecraft, Starbound. I was going to say Bastion, but I didn't have enough space.
Yep.
So yeah, you definitely have a really good game here, and I can't wait to see it take off. Where do you see yourself in 5 years with this game? Anyway?
I don't know. It's really, really hard to see because there's so much of the landscape is changing so fast. Like things that worked a year ago don't work now. Again, I'm walking the line between optimism and kind of caution. I think the game can do really well, it's just whether it makes enough to sustain its development and help me make the next game, or whether it like really takes off and I have to start hiring people. It's really hard to see that. So there's a ton of games I want to make. So if the game takes off and does really well, like maybe I could kind of do the Minecraft thing where I could hire someone else to kind of shepherd it while I make new games.
That worries me personally. I'm not happy with the changes that were made since the change in development management. That's just myself. So I'm worried
in terms
about
of Minecraft,
that.
right?
Right. I was playing since there was only 30,000 people, and so I was early in on that one as well. And it changed way differently than it was told it was going to happen.
Absolutely.
Now-
I haven't played since they added like enchantment stuff, and that's been in it for like a year.
Yeah.
And it's just the problem there is that there's so many players and they're all asking for different things, so they feel the need to add all the stuff and the game loses focus, and it lost its kind of like really simple core stuff, and now it's just overwhelming. I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense.
So there might come a point in Dodgeball where it's like, okay, like it's got all the game modes you need, like maybe there's there's the arena builder, so people can kind of entertain themselves with that. Maybe there's modding, so people can make their own game modes and submit their own content. But then, like, the game won't need to really become that much different. It just grows a little bit broader, but it won't really be different. And whether that point's a year out, whether that's 2 years out, it's hard to say. But I can definitely say there's a bunch of other games I really want to make, and I'll play this through as long as I can, because might as well keep building it while it's working well. But if this were the last game I ever made, I'd be pretty sad. So
Nah, really?
Well, I mean, it was the last game I ever made. That means it did really, really well. So I wouldn't be
I
that
was gonna say.
But it's just I have all these other ideas that I think would be really great.
Can't wait to see him. I won't ask because we don't want other people stealing
Well,
them.
yeah, no, I mean, ideas are cheap. It's the implementation.
That's true.
But I don't know. It's just that I wanna do so many different things at once, and that's the hard thing. But
You're a bit ambitious then.
well, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to balance like your drive to like do all this stuff, but then you can waste like a day or two on some stupid menu thing because it's not working right, and that's very, very frustrating. So.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
Oh no, not related to your issues at all.
Oh,
I'm just saying, like, if I'm trying to build like a button, and like just the, because the game needs it, and I just can't get it to work, like, it's particularly frustrating because it compounds on the idea of like, well, so many people are waiting for content. I want to get this really cool thing in, and then I have all these other things I want to do, and so it makes you feel kind of anxious, or I don't know.
Restricted, maybe?
Yeah. So, but I can't complain. It's a really good life. It's a great career. The fact that I can do this full time is incredible.
That's the dream of so many people.
Yeah, and I definitely realize I'm lucky in that I caught a lot of lucky breaks for being able to do this kind of thing. So, yeah, no complaints here.
When did you realize you wanted to make games?
So I grew up just kind of building board games, and like, we had Apple IIgs. I was making little games for that. I never thought that games could be a career until kind of like the iPhone came out, and I started toying around, and I saw that like, okay, like you can make some money building games. I was like, oh, like I never even thought about this. Like I was kind of like a database admin guy for a while, and I had never given it serious thought until I just tried it. I'm like, oh, this could work, and I connected with a bunch of other developers that are doing the same thing full time, and that's been very helpful. And it just kind of fell into place. But I didn't even take computer science classes in college because I didn't think that was like the path I wanted to go. Like I knew I loved programming, I knew I loved working with computers, but I hadn't really thought about it as a career. And I don't know, it is hard because it's super appealing, but it is such a hard industry to compete in. So I don't think it would have been realistic for me to think about this. I just happened to like see an opportunity and like jumped on it when I could. So
Glad you did.
yeah, me too. I'm totally spoiled at this point because like, let's say things don't work out, it's going to be really hard for me to not do this. I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I've like built games in my spare time or something, but I'm kind of like spoiled for any other job. So I'm crossing my fingers that this works out.
Yeah, so am I, because I
Say
do
that.
not want to see this game go down.
Yeah.
Neither do I. This is crazy good.
I promise you guys I'll do whatever I can to make this thing work.
I appreciate that. Sorry, I appreciate that.
Sure.
I can't think of too many more questions, but like, what was your favorite game as a child? Like young child.
So I had an NES and I played, I think, the Zelda, especially Link to the Past, like the Super Nintendo Zelda. Also like the Final Fantasy, well, 3, I guess, whatever, the US 3. Those kind of like RPGs really, really stuck with me, and that's kind of sense of adventure when you're discovering new areas and new secrets about the game. Like those, I played those games through 5-6 times. Those things just really, really stuck with me, and those were probably my favorites, I guess, growing up. And then, as I got a little older, I started really enjoying the multiplayer stuff. That really, really stuck with me. So.
And because of that, we have Disco Dodgeball.
Yeah, yep, that's how it came about. So.
What's your biggest fear when it comes to the future of Disco Dodgeball?
I don't know, that it stalls out or something. Like that I start building all this stuff, and then ultimately, maybe it gets on Greenlight, or sorry, maybe it gets on Steam, and then nobody buys it, and like nobody else cares about it, or if it doesn't even get onto Steam. I mean, if it basically, it's hard to project out like tomorrow could be the last time that anybody streams it. Like, I don't think that's the case, but like that's the fear where like you start investing more and more time, and you start thinking like, oh, this is good. Let me start like spending a ton of money on its development and hiring a bunch of people, and then it like nothing happens. And I think with my last game on iOS, that kind of happened where like I built this game, I felt really good about it, I started investing a lot of time and money in it, and then when it was released, like it just like kind of fizzled. And
Which one is that?
So that's Pwn. It's the combat hacking game. So it's a strategy game in real time about like fake Hollywood computer hacking battles. So you and another player are launching viruses and Trojans at each other and trying to defend your own network with encryption and firewalls. And like it's a premise I got really, really excited about. Like I love those fake hacking scenes in movies. It seemed to be a great fit for the platform, but ultimately it just kind of wound up being like, too complicated, too complex for like that market. And I think the people
like
that
too niche of a market, maybe.
Yeah, and I think I thought that like I had a bunch of strategy fans from my other game. I could kind of convert them all. It just didn't pan out, and that's the thing with iOS is like when you launch, you don't really know what's going to happen. You can't predict ahead of time. I think with Dodgeball, like the indications are really good early that people are going to keep playing this and liking it and talking about it. So that is probably my fear, that people will just stop caring, or that whatever, it's already exhausted its market. But I think I'm reasonably confident that it'll keep growing well as it goes along.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I can't think of any more questions myself. Anyone else?
I'm good.
Right.
I've got nothing.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to lose you here, Eric.
Oh, no problem. I mean, hey, give me a call anytime. I'm happy to answer emails, tweets, whatever. I love, obviously, talking about the game. I love getting feedback, so, yeah.
We'll probably
feel
play
free
again in the future or something. You don't have to leave the call or anything. I mean, the interview, I think, is over at this point.